September 24th, Finance and Administration Committee meeting to order. Welcome all here. No public, anybody else have a comment they wanna make? Alright, we'll move on. Presentation, discussion items, Mr. Eleazar, the update on current projects.
Alright, so you now notice that the list of projects for the year is spilled over on the 2 sheets. So we've added to it, but there's not really much to touch on with much of this. I think that a couple things that Kyle's working on is putting together a couple of larger bids for some of these to go out, specifically for some of the mechanical work that we've done here at the plant, I think. And those are, you can find out on the backs of these sheets, what's noted, to be included in large bid packet, how those will be listed. Nothing really much to talk about on the capital projects, other than we did receive the final permit to operate on the Flat Rock pump station replacement project. So I think there's a couple of stormwater related matters associated with that, but other than that, it's wrapped up. I think did we process the last payout for that one? I think we have. And then we have a bid opening later today for one of our skip projects for the collection system rehabilitation. That'll be at 2 o'clock, so we'll have some idea of where we are with that. I know we've received at least one so far for that. And we've got an audit scheduled with RIA coming up, I think, in the next couple of weeks for the Sewer South Phase 2 project. So those are some of the highlights of where we are. Any questions?
So once you get your permit to operate, is there anything left to do at Flat Rock? Just start, close that out?
It's closed out. So again, we thought everything was gonna be good. We knew we had some issues with some of the soil stabilization, the stormwater permit, just because of the lack of rainfall, no way to get grass growing out that way. So then maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, Walhalla was inundated with a storm, and received several inches of rain in a very short period of time, and it washed away some of the soil going down the hill to the pump station. So Code Utility, I believe, has since gone out there and installed some rock check dams to help slow that flow down and try to get the grass reestablished. So really that permit will stay open until we receive a certain percentage of site stabilization, and then DES will close that permit out as well. I believe that's how that works. That's all there is really to it.
But it's effectively working.
It's been in operation when we received our partial permit to operate a couple months ago. Yeah, that station's been online for a good while. Even before that, it was on bypass pump. We were pumping around the existing station because we reused a lot of the structure for the old one to make the new one. The old dry well where the pumps were located became the new wet well.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Alright, we'll move on. Review August and year-to-date financial reports. Ms. Stevens? Or
This was, we'll send this out to the committee and all the commissioners several days or as soon as it's available. So I believe Ms. Stevens sent this out on September 12th to the board. So take any questions you have with that, but everything appears to be looking good. Most of the items that we had budgeted with an estimate for purchases for vehicles, equipment, and the like. I think most, if not everything, has come in at or below budget costs. Hopefully we'll be able to get some paving done this year. Kyle's trying to reach out to some companies to be able to do that, wait for some quotes.
You know, I know a guy.
Yeah. we contacted them last year and we had,
He's
they
on
were
the
so,
plane.
they were so busy, we couldn't get them to come out till the spring, and then the costs were so high, we just delayed it and rolled it into a little bit bigger project this year.
It's, yeah, if we hit like a, not really tough winter, that's a lot of time you need to spend. Good quotes.
Mhm.
Is there a motion?
So,
So,
Any other questions, comments? Alright, all those in favor? Alright, action items to recommend to the board, the updates to the personnel policy manual.
This is a matter where we knew we had some deficiencies in the existing policy because of changes in identified a few of these with the drug testing, substance abuse requirements for the CDL, licensed drivers. It was also identified when we changed labor attorneys, to grant close, that we needed to have some type of FLSA safe harbor provision to allow the employer to correct improper pay without penalty to the employer. Some classification and minimum wage updates, and then parental leave and lactation support language is now required to be stated. So with all of that, of course, it's time just to go ahead and open it back up and take a look at it. So a copy was sent out with I can't remember the order of it, but I think the clean version was sent in the front, and in the back was the red line version that primarily Grant had changed. I think he had reordered some of the documents to make sure that the harassment policy or anti-harassment policy was closer to the front, and then some changes that we stated internally, a lot of which had to do with, it seemed like hours, because we don't have staff here 24 hours a day any longer. So work hours became a little more defined and refined. That was what was sent out. And he apologized, Grant did apologize for the length of time it took for him to get through it.
it's a pretty hefty, piece of paper to get out there.
Well,
as far as the manual goes, there's a lot to it.
And the thing, just like the regulation, if you're gonna open it back up at all, you may as well go ahead and do a considerable overhaul of it.
Alright, is there a motion?
so
Second.
Is there any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of recommending this to the full board?
aye.
Moving right along, executive director's report, joint rate and financial results.
All right, after I had sent out the agenda the other day, but before that time, I'd spoken to Angie about what was asked. I believe Mr. Mulder may have brought this up about the piggybacking of everybody to do a rate study. One of the two of you, okay.
If it was a good idea, it's probably me.
Okay.
If it was a bad idea, it's probably me.
So Angie, she spoke to Bonnie about it, and we received an email and back, which I think I received that afternoon after the agenda had gone out. So I just forwarded that email out, not knowing that Norm or anybody would be here. I just printed it off, gave it to you as a handout, so it is in your packet. It just did not go out with the agenda. She will be here at the October 7 meeting, so she'll be able to answer questions at that time or address it anymore with any other information that she has, but she does say there are some options. But I think she also has some other ideas as well.
Well, it seemed like to me the biggest hurdle in that was, one, we can't piggyback off of Wildan with this entity, and then two, if we go with an RIA grant, we wouldn't meet the time period.
That will be the hard thing. So, and I asked Angie, because Angie and I, we went and met yesterday with Amanda Brock, just to inform her about all of, what was adopted about the rate study, because that's gonna apply to the county as well, because they're now a user and a system owner. So, Angie did say that RIA moved the grant application period back from the normal September into sometime mid to late October. So there would be time to apply for it, but I think the biggest hurdle is getting something out there, that would comply with everybody's procurement policy. 4 cities, including West Union, the county, and us. So being able to do that. So she'll have I think she's got some ideas or thoughts about it. I don't even know exactly what they are. But you have her contact information. Feel free to reach out to her directly with any questions you have or some thoughts about it. I don't think it's impossible, and I think everybody thinks it's a great idea. It's just a matter of the timing with the whole thing. It's gonna be the difficult part of it. You have to go through and advertise, vet them, approve them, have it's gonna have to go out there through an RFP process. RIA is gonna have to approve that advertisement before it goes out. So it's not something that's really.
We weren't eligible under that program for RIA.
You weren't listed
Yeah.
in that.
I think
Yeah.
we were excluded from
It's the size.
eligibility.
Yeah, it's the size, and I think there may be some question about us as well because of the service population. So I think it's Walhalla, Westminster, West Union, and Oconee County, I think, with the few people that serve.
If we actually just paid for a cost of service study that had rate recommendations last year, how far back are we allowed to use? I mean, why can't we use our existing cost of service study rather than having another one?
I think you may be able to, so long as it has that information for the CIP that was stated that she wanted to have everybody have done, and that would be factored into what the rates would be to address capital needs. So, and again, just reach out to Angie directly. I'm sure she'll be able to help you out with it.
For comparison's sake, do you guys mind saying how much you spent on that or ballparking?
I wanna say it was 30-something thousand, but don't quote me. I'll try to find out if you like.
I mean, that sounds about right
Yeah. We used UTEC, who is our utility consultant, so they actually conducted it for us. We actually talked to, not Wildan, but another firm,
Kellis or.
I can't remember the name, but they ended up doing work for us for last year, and we made some significant adjustments to our rates across all 3 utilities.
And they looked at all your rates.
Yes.
And how much is the Wildan one for here?
I haven't received anything from them yet. I spoke to Daryl after we had discussed it at the last meeting, gave him, what had been brought up about the piggybacking, and I haven't seen anything from him yet. I don't know, with them, I would imagine there'd be some savings that would be had because he's already familiar with all the numbers. He's familiar with our system here and the costs that we, with the treatment aspect of it, operating and maintaining and replacing equipment. But I haven't received anything from it for the large costs. I think that, I'm trying to remember, I think Angie or Daryl or somebody, the one item that I knew was gonna be included with this recommendation back several months ago when I was putting the budget together. I had asked, one item that I had gotten feedback on was to make sure I have, and I think it was around $30,000 or so for that rate and cost of service.
I think it was like 36 or something like that, if I remember. I've slept a number of nights since then.
But I guess you guys have done, you did water, wastewater, and
Electric.
electric.
We actually restructured some of our categories as well, in addition to the rate adjustment, so it was kind of a complete overhaul.
But I think that was the reason that Angie was wanting to have that done, is to incorporate any
Capital
capital
projects.
projects that would be identified with needs to address consent order, such matters.
anything else?
Nothing with that one. I've got a few miscellaneous things. All these have kind of come up over the last day, really. I spoke to RA yesterday, and if you think back a couple of weeks when we had a board meeting, it was brought up about that we need to have a change order signed, or executed for Sewerside Phase 2, and if there's gonna be a deduct for that project, you know, a fairly small one, but for a materials quantity adjustment. But the bigger matter with that whole thing has to do with the change of date to make sure that we are in compliance with the EDA contract period. So I think that contract ends September 27th. So we have to have something to them, an executed change order by that day. So Nate Fouch with RA called me yesterday. He's reviewed it. RA considers it to be a minor change, so it'll still have to go before their board, but he said their board's not gonna meet for a couple of weeks, so he told us just to go ahead and proceed. He said just proceed. From our standpoint, he didn't have any issues with it, so we'll still have to have that executive committee meeting. So, you know, I'll go ahead and ask, since you're on the executive committee, would you have availability anytime tomorrow, late morning to afternoon?
You got a window between 11 and 1.
11 and 1.
That means take her to lunch.
Plus you need to get
Have a lunch meeting, you get everybody here. I'm available for lunch.
I don't normally eat lunch, so no, that's not a problem.
Okay, so I'll contact Mr. Ferris and Mr. Rainey and see if they're available at that time. Exit 4 sewer, this is a Oconee County project that I had received another revision of their plans yesterday, and the plans have looked good. They've submitted, I think it's the 4th or 5th revision. There was a change in the alignment of it about halfway through several months ago. So I've not opened these sets of plans yet. I don't anticipate there being any issues. The last set was ready and then they changed the alignment. So it all looked good. They will be asking me soon for a willingness to treat letter that'll go with the DHEC or DES packet for the construction permit. No issues there. There won't be any flow, as far as I know, associated with this project. So if the pump station involved, I'm gonna assume it's gonna be a zero flow project, meaning there shouldn't be anything in the way of capacity tying up here at the plant for it. But it is, from my understanding, that we do have an agreement with Oconee County to operate system or any part of the system they own, but it's only right now for the Golden Corner Commerce Park pump station and the force main, nothing beyond that. So one of the things I brought up to Ms. Brock yesterday was just that consideration, because the plan is still, as of right now, is for Oconee County to own that asset and contract operate with us. So she's aware of it. I think we're aware of it. Again, thinking about how we want to structure that, because it's not going to be just for this phase, it could be for much more down that way over time. Next, the Fair Labor Standards Act, the final overtime rule. So that really isn't addressed all that much in the policy manual, but it is a rule nonetheless, and it is effective January 1, 2025. Employees earning below $1,128 per week are to either, one, have their salaries raised to remain exempt, that's for exempt employees, or two, reclassify the affected employees to non-exempt and pay them overtime. So there was already one change July 1st that took it from 684 week to 844 week, and then there's another pretty big jump come January 1st. So with that said, unless something changes, with any of the lawsuits that are taking place with it right now, or any administrative changes to it. We'll have to be prepared to implement it come that time. So I think there's one pay class that we have here that we currently have exempt that would be reclassified to a non-exempt role. So Carrie's already given me information on where that slot would fall in our compensation scale. So we should be okay with that. But with that said, will that need board approval? Committee or board approval to reclassify a person for a position?
Were all the classifications set by the board?
I guess it's a little bit gray because the board did approve that in the compensation study, and that classification set was in that study, but they didn't specifically approve that structure on its own.
Couldn't you just give the employee a raise and then bring the structure back when we do the budget?
We can do that.
Cause you can give the employee raises without board or.
That's true.
committee approval.
Yeah, we could do that, but the other thing with that too is that if that position leaves and we have to hire somebody, then we have to bring them in at that same pay.
So does you're allowed to adjust the budget numbers, and slide money within the budget as long as the total appropriation doesn't change, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Because, the salary number is obviously gonna change, so you have to slide some additional funds there for the raise, but, I'm with you, just give the guy a raise, comply with it, and we have to change the structure at the next process, so, yeah.
Okay.
I just always said, however it was approved is how it needs to be amended, so if we actually did approve the structure, then the board would probably have to do the amendment as well. But your job is to keep us in compliance with all regulation and legislation, so if it's required to give them a raise to keep us in compliance, then give them a raise.
You can always use the minutes from this meeting to back up what you did. And then you notified us you're taking action.
And then lastly, I mentioned already about that bid opening that we have today. So that when we have that bid opening, that'll help us to determine how much we'll have left for that dewatering project that initially, I calculated the forms that came in around $5 million before value engineering, that we have since reduced down to around 3.5.
We only had 3.6 or 8 budgeted for that. How much did we have budgeted for?
Well, so we had, it was close to, it was like 9.9 something million dollars that we had total that we received from SCIP. We had a little bit of a set, but we had 3 projects combined into one. So we got basically approved for one main project from SCIP. One of those was flat rock replacement. One of those was this conveyance system rehab, and then one of them was the dewatering equipment replacement. So Flat Rock came in under budget slightly. We don't know where the conveyance system is, but they figured it was gonna be in the $5 million range. And then dewatering, we had budgeted that at around 2.8. Well, that 2.8 turned into 5. Now it's going back down through the CMAR value engineering process. So I think we're gonna be okay. I think we'll be okay with everything. When it's all said and done. We'll have that hard number later today on the rehab, and that'll determine what we do have with the dewatering, and we can scale that up or down.
As much of that rehab, it's not in the roadway or anything like that, or it's like going through the woods, countryside, so you might get some good numbers on that.
Mm-hmm. Most of it will be trenchless repair.
Yeah.
CIPP work.
Hopefully you get some good numbers on that. Do you mind sending an email, just telling what you got, what
I will.
your bid sheet looks like?
I will, and I'll put all those, I typically put those on the website anyway, so I don't have to deal with the FOIA requests for wanting, people asking what the bids were.
Okay.
So I'll just put them out there, so yeah.
Your bid opening's what time?
Is it 2? I don't know when we'll have the final results. Joe Swain will take this back and make sure that all submittals and requirements have been included. guess at some point he'll certify those. So once I have all of that, I'm gonna go ahead, I'll put that out there on the website, and send it out. And that's all I have.
Alright, is there any discussion among the members? Alright. Everybody good with October 22nd for the next meeting? Alright. Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then we'll determine the feasibility of the next board meeting, alright. Well, it is. 9:30, let's call it adjourned.
Almost said amen,
Hey,
just. I don't know why, it felt like the thing said.
I sent you an email right before this, Angie, when I spoke to her yesterday.